Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Today, we're going to make a wonderful pasta with fusilli. It's called pasta filetto di pomodoro. It is essentially onions, a little bit of olive oil, pancetta, tomatoes, and some herbs like oregano, basil, and parsley. That's it. We're going to add just a few items, and we're going to come out with maximum flavor. But before we go into the kitchen and I show you how to make this, please thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell so you know when I release the next video, share with your friends, and leave a comment down below. So, without any further ado, let's get in the kitchen and make this wonderful pasta. All right, let's get started. We're going to use some 100% California extra virgin olive oil. We'll use some pancetta. This is uncured pancetta. I think it's important that you get uncured bacon, pancetta, whenever you can. It's just better for you, your health. All right. We're going to use a half an onion. We'll use some organic oregano. We'll use some basil. We're going to use a little bit of parsley. And of course, we're going to use the tomatoes. 100% California organic peeled tomatoes. And we're going to hand crush those. First things first, we have to process the onions. We're going to chop those into a relatively medium dice, and then we're going to cook them off with the pancetta. We're going to add in our tomatoes. We're going to let that simmer down, and of course, we're going to use fusilli today as the pasta. So, let me take care of all of this stuff, like the onion and the parsley and the basil and the tomatoes, and we'll get onto the stove. All right, we have our three main ingredients done. The tomatoes have been hand crushed. You can see that the onions have been medium dice, and of course the pancetta. So let's go to the stove. All right, so we're on the stove. I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil, not too much because we have pancetta, but it's better to start the pancetta off in a little bit of oil so that it doesn't burn right off the bat. And we're going to use about medium heat. We're going to keep it on high for a second, and then as the pan warms up, we'll reduce the heat. We're going to add in our pancetta, and as this comes to temperature, I will be back. All right, as you can see, the pancetta is slowly coming up to temperature. We're going to keep the heat up because when we add the onions in, and we're going to add them in a couple of seconds here, it's going to cool everything down. So we want to keep the temperature up. And again, as the onions come up to temperature, then we will also lower the heat to keep things relatively medium and even. So let's do this now. We'll add in our onions, which immediately cools everything down. So we keep the heat up. And we'll just cook this until both the onions and the pancetta begin to brown and gives a little caramelization and thus flavor as well. All right, this is exactly what you want to see as you cook the pancetta and the onions. You see they're slowly cooking in here, and pretty soon they will begin to caramelize, at which point we will add our tomato. All right, as you can see, the pancetta is starting to brown, and so are the onions. We don't want them to go any further than this. We've developed some color, we've developed a little bit of flavor, and now we are going to add our tomatoes. We're going to get everything that we can possibly get. These are California organic tomatoes, and they're not exactly the least expensive option, and so we want to get everything that we possibly can. It doesn't really matter what the cost was, we still want to get everything that we possibly can. We don't want to waste, all right? That is the cardinal rule in the kitchen. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up on temperature. We're going to bring it to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for about a half an hour, 40 minutes, so that all of the flavors meld and the acidity in the tomato cooks out and makes it a little bit sweet. All right, as you can see, our tomatoes have come up to temperature. They're not on a rapid boil, which is what we don't want either, because then it'd be like a volcano. You get all kinds of tomato everywhere. But we're going to turn the heat down, and we're going to let these just simmer away gently for about 40 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes. Okay, now that our sauce has come to a simmer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this into a sauce pot. All right, now that I've transferred this to a sauce pot, you can see that it's back up to a boil. And what we'll do is turn it down and let it simmer away. At about the 20-minute mark, I'll put water on for our pasta. And we'll also chop the parsley and shred the basil. Of course, the oregano is dry, so nothing needs to happen. All right, it's about 20 minutes before our sauce is ready. We're going to put another sauce pot on the fire. And if you don't know me by now, I take a sauce pot and I put exactly 4 cups of water in. When this comes to the boil, we'll add exactly 2 teaspoons of regular table salt, and then we'll cook our pasta in that. We'll be back. All right, our water is now at a boil. We'll now add exactly 2 teaspoons of regular table salt. We'll let that dissolve, and we will then add in our pasta. I'll be right back. All right, I will add in our fusilli. We'll give it a little bit of a stir, and you realize that you don't have to constantly stir the pasta, and it doesn't need to be boiling in copious amounts of water. As soon as the first layer of starch gels, the pasta will not stick together, and also having a smaller amount of water ensures that the water will come back to a boil faster than if we had a large pot. Okay. We're a few minutes away from our pasta being ready. We'll add in a little bit of oregano, just like this, and mix it in. And we'll also add in our basil. Tear it up a little bit. There's a lot of small leaves here. Otherwise, I would tear them up a little bit more. But we want to keep the integrity of these leaves. And so we're just going to put them in like that. Adding them at the end here ensures there's a little bit of freshness and brightness to the sauce itself. And now we have to do one other thing, and that is taste and adjust our seasoning. All right, our pasta is ready. I have added a skillet onto the flame, and I've put the sauce pot with the sauce on the back burner. We're going to bring this up to temperature, while at the same time adding our fusilli. We dropped one there, but that's okay. Little fusilli lost in action. MIA. Fusilli MIA. We'll add this in here like this and give it a little bit of a mix. Okay. The fusilli is literally perfectly done. I'm going to add a little bit of pasta water just to loosen everything up a tiny bit. And that is literally perfect. Remember, the pasta is the star of the show. And there we go. Let's dish it up. Hello, my Italian food fanatics. Well, you saw me dish it up, and here it is. Now it's time to taste and see if this pasta filetto di pomodoro is any good. Wow. Right off the bat, the herbaceousness of the parsley, because we just put it on there, hits you. Pasta's perfectly cooked. You can taste the pancetta, you can taste the onions, and obviously the tomato. I had mentioned earlier when I first tasted it that it was very, very sweet, and it is. a half an hour to 40 minutes is perfect for cooking down the tomatoes and making them extra phenomenal. Now, you'll notice that I didn't add any cheese, and I'm a proponent of tasting your pasta without cheese, because cheese, a lot of times, especially Parmesan, something strong, or Pecorino Romano, hides the flavors of the actual condimenti or the sauce and the pasta. So I always suggest tasting it before and then adding cheese so that you know the difference between the two. Anyway, I'm going to finish the rest of this bowl, but before I do, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell button to make sure that you know when I release a new video. And no matter where you're in the world, I hope you're having a great day. I wish you good health, happiness, and prosperity. Thank you so much for following me, for your subscriptions, for your shares, and for leaving a comment down below. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.